Almost live. Oh, no, we are there. Hi, everybody. We are live again and welcome to the show. And thank you for joining us again.
And Flash Gordon here.
So I don't know what well, tonight, tonight we're going to talk about Doris Stokes, the famous medium, but also the rather intriguing and interesting story, in particular, of our personal experience of Doris Stokes and how basically she brought us together. But we'll tell you all about that in a moment. We're going to say hello to people as you come online tonight, and say hello to you all around the world. So if you're joining us after we've gone live, don't forget to follow this channel so that you can come on and get a notification when we go live every time on Fridays, 5 p.m., 7 p.m. UK time. Okay, so we're going to say hello to a few people.
We'll say hello first of all to Nana, from our house to your house, Nana. Linda, Carol.
G'day. G'day from
Australia.
Australia, says Carol. Thank you, Sheila. You're all called Sheila over there, aren't you? Peter Hollands, watching from Oslo. Oh, that's great.
You've been to Oslo?
Yeah, we've been to Oslo briefly. Patricia Schultz again. Happy Easter from Germany.
And happy Easter from England.
Yes. Or Orster, as they used to call it.
It's Millie here. Big hello, Jane, Craig and Dom. Looking forward to today's chat. We're looking forward to connecting with all of you too.
Yeah, going to be fantastic to see you all again. We're going to be talking about Doris Stokes, the famous medium, and the amazing story of how she changed Jane and myself's lives. Agility Bits, hi from Cornwall. Lovely and sunny here today. Good. And hopefully see you online too, Agility Bits, because I know you're one of the patrons, and I'm going to have a patron talk I've set up on Thursday. So those of you that are patrons, come along, or not patrons, if you want to join as a patron, come along, and I'm going to have a chat online by Zoom on Thursday at 5 o'clock. I'll mention that at the end as well. Linda.
Howdy, Craig and Jane from Michigan, USA. Looking dashing, aren't you?
Yes, I do look rather good. I look like one of those card players on the Mississippi River. I tone it down this week after last week's extravaganza.
Hi, Lorraine from Wareham. What a lovely day. Yes, it's been beautiful.
Yes.
Here comes our crows now.
And we got snow coming as well.
Yeah.
UK Nottingham. Ange Andrews. Hiya, Ange.
Alison Welsh. Hello from Old Shaftesbury Town, Dorset. Hi, Alison.
I think you've been before, haven't you? Because we keep getting Shaftesbury one. Datkos. Hi from Finland. Is that flag? I'm not sure. I think it's a Finnish flag.
Danish.
Or Swedish.
Danish.
I get more confused than the. Neil saying good morning, Craig and Jane from Melbourne in Australia. Nice jacket, Craig. Happy Easter. Thank you. I'm glad you like it.
That's his Easter jacket.
Of course, you guys in Australia, Doris Stokes really made her a name out there, actually. So,
Sydney.
Yeah, so don't forget, if you've got any interesting stories about Doris Stokes or thoughts about Doris Stokes, save them up and give us some questions at the end, and your stories would be interesting too.
Hello, Franco. Good wishes all from East London. Hi, Franco.
Debbie, I love Doris and I've read her books over and over. Well, that's fantastic. Her books and other spiritual works kept me going through this dark, cruel world. Yeah, this is the Doris Stokes books, you remember? Do you remember? She did voice. I couldn't find Voices in My Ear, but that was another one, the second one after the Voices in My Ear. And this is by Linda Dearsley. We'll tell you all about her, but she introduces us now at our shows on when we do stage shows, which we got one coming up in May.
John said. Hi, John.
Where the glasses gone, Craig? Yes, I was thinking of getting some different glasses tonight. Yes, but
gold ones to go with the jacket.
I've got to be a bit cautious. I might get locked up the way I'm going. So happy Easter, says Ava. Yes.
Happy Easter,
happy
Ava.
Orster if you're in Sumeria.
Frank.
Hi from Poole.
Hi, Frank.
Of course, Easter was originally Orster. It's an old Sumerian religion thing. So Bees is saying, hello, Jane and Craig. Good to see you two on Happy Friday.
Yes, a Good Friday.
Yeah, I suppose Happy Friday is quite a good day to call, isn't it? Because we then tend to be cheerful even if we're feeling miserable. Happy Easter, Craig and Jane, listening to from Massachusetts, USA, says
That's
Cheryl.
Cheryl. That's nice. Happy Easter to you, Cheryl. Ginger Tea. I'm interested in this discussion today, so I've seen Doris Stokes on YouTube.
Oh, great. Yeah. And anybody seen her live? Have any of you had a message from her before?
Linda.
Quite a few
Good
in her
evening,
time.
Craig and Jane from Cyprus. Good evening, Linda. Happy Easter.
Hello from Worcester, says Sebastian.
It's a nice name, isn't it?
Sebs. Lobby Dosser. Hi from the moon.
Hi, how are you up
We
there?
thought you were going to come.
Hi.
Yes, we were expecting you.
Welcome to the airplane.
Yes, we welcome our overlords.
Yeah. How's the universe going up there?
Eileen is saying hi from Gettysburg, PA, USA. I love you both. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter
Thank
to
you.
you.
Thank you to you too. Of course, Gettysburg's a fantastic place. The haunted battlefields there in Gettysburg are worth maybe a discussion sometime. Anyway, as it says on the screen, today's topic is going to be the Doris Stokes Effect. We're calling that for a specific reason, actually, because there's a new book out about the Doris Stokes Effect by Linda Dearsley, but we'll mention that in a moment. And we're going to talk about how Doris set our path, really, in many ways as mediums, and certainly had a very strong influence upon us, and had a particularly strong influence upon us when we first met.
Yes.
So I suppose I'd better start the story off, hadn't
I suppose you better, Craig.
Because it kind of started with me.
As usual.
And so before I met Jane, long time ago, I was a single parent. I was bringing up my daughter, who was a baby, basically, after a marriage that didn't last 5 minutes, and a lot of problems, and all sorts of crises going on in my life at that particular point in time. And round about the same time, also, my sister got married, and she had some terrible news. In fact, my nan, who was also quite psychic, she had a horrible, horrible dream of my sister getting married in black. And she said to my auntie Marion, "Oh, Marion, I've had this horrible, horrible dream. What does it mean? I see the bride in black. What does that mean? Could it be a death?" Well, she was right, because unfortunately, my sister lost her husband just 6 months after they got married. And I was going through all sorts of crises at the same time. Anyway, my sister went to see the medium called Doris Stokes. Okay, there she is again, folks. You might remember Voices in My Ear, which was an amazing first book. And so she went to see Doris Stokes, and asked me to come along with her. And I thought, well, okay, I'll escort her to go and see Doris Stokes. You know, Stokes hoax. I didn't know at the time what mediumship was really about. You know, I'd been much more interested in things like consciousness and telepathy and all those type of things. But mediumship was still a little bit new to me as an idea. And I'd heard of Doris Stokes vaguely, because at that time she hadn't quite, I don't know if Voices in My Ear had been published or was about to be published, but she'd just begun to get known, right? And we went along to see her in her flat. Where was it in London? I went to, I can't remember what part of London it was now. I've forgotten the part of London. But it was only a little naval flat. It was literally a flat. And at that time that I went with my sister, I'd also, you know, I was a single parent. I had the baby, but we'd still had a lot of conflicts going in the background. And the baby had been grabbed by my ex-wife from the nanny, and she disappeared with her. And we were all very, very concerned because of you know, what had happened already. And the welfare were concerned. Nobody knew where she was. So I was a little bit hoping that I might get a message about that. And anyway, we went along, and my sister, well, actually, we went along. The reason we went along, I'll tell you this bit first too, because my sister had kind of connected with Doris Stokes, kind of by sending a letter to Doris Stokes somewhere in London. Right, that's all she knew. But because Doris Stokes had started to get known, the post office realised where she lived, and the letter got through to Doris Stokes. And all my sister had written in there was, "I am a bereaved widow and suffering from some terribly. Can you help? And here's my telephone. Here's the number where I work at my parents' restaurant. And she gave the parents' restaurant's number. Two Ice Restaurant in Shirley, those from Southampton that are joining us. And Doris Stokes called the restaurant on the number, called Viv on the number. And I was there when Viv took the message. And Doris Stokes started to tell her incredible things on the phone. She mentioned her husband's name, which was Wayne, and said about lots of little things, lots and lots of little details about what had happened when Wayne had died, the things Viv had said to him, and it's lots of little details that were absolutely impossible to know because Viv had only given her name and she hadn't really given an address. All she had was a phone number, and this is way before the internet. There's no way she could have checked any of that information out. Absolutely amazing, really. So we went up to London. So I escorted Viv to London. I wasn't really kind of expecting a reading or anything. I was just going along because I was kind of interested. And Doris told me some absolutely mind-boggling things. I mean, when you first encounter mediumship, I mean, it is pretty mind-boggling for anybody when you start to get messages with names and all the rest of it. But she said, you know, she said about my brothers, and she mentioned my brother's name and his wife's name. She mentioned my mum's name, my dad's name. She mentioned, she described my grandmother in the spirit in absolute detail, gave her name. She seemed to get all the names of all the people in the family, you know, and it just was so natural with Doris Stokes. And she was absolutely full of a thick cold at the time, you know. Well, she told Viv amazing things, my sister, and it absolutely lifted a huge weight from her shoulders because, you know, she'd gone through all this, and here suddenly there was proof, absolute astonishing proof that he was well, because no way could she didn't even know, he had no idea where we came from, didn't know even where we were coming from, you know, from Southampton to London. So there's no way she could have known any of that. And that she wasn't throwing names out, you know, like some mediums would just throw names until one gets right. Every single name she says, bang on, right, straight away. You know, it's your brother's name, Ian. Yeah, and she married, and your nan's saying he's married to Jackie. That's right. You know, how does he know things like that? And she knew all sorts of things about my father's business, for example, things that really nobody knew about, you know, what was going on with the companies and things like that, all sorts. Anyway, it then came to my turn. And first of all, she immediately picked up on the fact that I'd been a single parent and there was all these difficulties in the background. And she told me the address to go to look. To go and find where my daughter had been taken. She described it. I worked it out, and it was bang on. We actually were able to get the welfare to go around there, and we discovered the baby was alone at home, and the mother was off on a concert somewhere, and the baby was by itself, and the neighbours were ringing. Well, anyway, that's another story. That's not a story for this. But so she told me all that, which was mind-boggling, and then she went on. She said, you know. She said, you're going to go to America very soon with a person called Stewie. And that was my friend. I went to America just afterwards. I came out of the blue. And then she says, you know, you're going to meet a medium and, you know, you're going to be a medium. In fact, you're going to give up all this world that you're doing at the moment with advertising and things like that. And you're going to become a full-time medium like me. I thought, no, it can't be the case. You know, you're a medium. No, I would never be a medium. And she says, you will. And you're going to meet your future wife on the 6th of March. She didn't say which year. And you said you'll meet your future.
Still waiting on it.
Yeah, she's still not coming along. You're going to meet her on the 6th of March. And she said her name will be Jane Wallace, is what she said to me. Right. So that's okay. I'll go. So anyway, what happened after that? I've got to tell my story first. It's a bit long, I'm afraid. We'll get to Jane's bit too. But
we have time.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. So basically that's what happened first with Doris. And she said that. And after that, I met a policeman because my auntie said, come and see this other medium. You're interested in mediums. I love mediums. And she said, come and see this other medium called Peter Close, who trained me as a medium, basically. And I became a medium and ended up working on the platform, doing exactly what Doris said, giving demonstrations of mediumship. It came to me just like that. I seemed immediately able to do it after a year of training in a circle. And then eventually I come to Eastleigh Spiritualist Church where I'm giving a demonstration.
Right.
And that's where Jane's story starts to come in.
You sure? We got time. Been going 20 minutes.
What took you to the church?
Well, I was a one parent as well, bringing up children on my own. And I used to cook meals for my friends. And one particular day, I mean, I'd been working as a clairvoyant and medium. One particular day, I saw a vision of my grandmother telling me to go to Eastleigh Spiritualist Church. And I must say, I was very anti-men then. And so my girlfriend said, yes, go along. So I went along, and I remember wearing what we call blue suit then. And I said, who's the medium tonight? He said, Craig Hampton Parker. And I pictured a really old codger with a flat cap on.
I can wear that
come true now. Anyway, so I sat there, and this man came on the platform. And the first thing he said to me, I have your grandmother here. I said, how's she getting on, being cocky? And he said, she tells me you're a medium, a clairvoyant too. And he said, right in front of everybody, I'd like a reading with you. And of course, I was quite embarrassed. And
of course,
anyway,
before that, it was Jane's. This is kind of important too. I was given the message from Jane's grandmother in the spirit,
right.
And Jane's grandmother's name. I gave the name. I got the gives you the name Wallace, and it turns out that's not Jane's name at the time, but it's her grandmother's name at the time, right? So it's Ethel Wallace. I said the name is of the person in spirit. That turns out to be Jane's grandmother, but Jane's name at the time was Willis. So Doris Stokes had seen the Wallace and the kind of the Willis twist to it as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, Craig, thank you very much for that. But anyway, so he said, I'd like a reading with you. And I didn't say anything. And the whole church was waiting for Craig to approach me. They wouldn't leave. And because everyone was filling a rabbit in a cup of tea and all the girls laughing. So I just gave him a business card and that. And it felt strange because it felt that a connection, if you like to say soul flames or whatever, it felt, oh, is that man again? It felt that somebody really was organising this from the other side. And I said I could see him on a Tuesday. And then when he came to my house, it felt like meeting a soulmate from a past incarnation. It felt so right.
Yeah.
It happened very quickly. You had your chance, mate. Yeah. Anyway, and then I was very old-fashioned because I would say to Craig, when we got together, I'd meet him down the bottom of the road, and I could only see him between 7 and 9 because I had children. And then I can remember we went off to meet the Dalai Lama, didn't we? We had a spiritual reading.
Yeah. So just getting back to the Doris Stokes bit, you see, because Doris Stokes had predicted not just the name there, but this was all happening on the 6th of March, exactly as Doris Stokes had predicted. This was 9 years later. But the name was right and the time was right. I mean, it really kind of quite mind-blowing, really, when you suddenly realise that all those details suddenly all fitted into place, didn't they?
It's getting blocked here.
So we were kind of amazed, and we started to date. Okay, and first date, Dalai Lama, wasn't it? I said, let's go and see the Dalai Lama.
No, he said to me, would you like to go to Harrods for tea and cakes? And I said, I'll come to Harrods for tea and cakes, but no funny business.
Okay, your mic, you've got your chin on the mic. I'm going to pull the mic down, or keep your head up a bit because your mic's getting ruffled.
They can hear me, can't they?
Yeah, it's ruffling it. They can't hear you.
All right, it's moving around.
Yeah, so, put your mic down a little bit, Jane.
I can't put it down. Where else can I put it?
Okay, so, was I wearing one of my lovely jackets when I first saw him, Jane?
No, he wasn't actually. He had an awful feral jacket.
In fact, I remember when we said to go to see the Dalai Lama, I think I put a bald wig on, didn't I? A bald-headed thing on it, didn't I? Put on my head and put a robe around me. Let's go see the Dalai Lama.
Yeah, but you didn't go like that.
No. I remember my eccentricity started from the beginning. Yeah, so we started. So Doris was pretty important to us with this, really, wasn't she? Because all this started to
and you forgot another thing.
What's that?
John Stokes, Doris Stokes.
Well, that's what I'm getting to.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Because then what happened? You see, yesterday, 1st of April, April Fool's Day, was the day we got married.
That was
right?
3 years ago.
So when we got married 33 years ago, crikey, 33 years, blimey, seems like yesterday. we got married at a spiritualist church,
Yes.
didn't we? Which I think is also quite interesting, because James didn't know whatever had happened to her father. So John Stokes offered to stand in and give Jane away at the spiritualist church. Now that's the husband.
Yeah, but you've missed
Doris.
Yeah,
yeah.
But John and I were friends before I met Craig, and he used to come here to do healing with us, because I used to, at that time, do healing, contact healing on people that had had breakdowns and different things. And I had a friend that had lupus at the time, so he came and done healing with me.
That's right, yeah. And some of the people mentioned in Doris's books were mentioned there too, like the Reverend fella from
Reverend Carter,
Terry Carter, who was also in the books and everything. So there's the story coming together a separate way, because if you see, we've got Jane's story through John Stokes and my story through Doris Stokes. And I can imagine, because Doris Stokes, by the time we were married, Doris Stokes had died by that time. But John was lovely, and he
I still got a video of him talking.
He paid for the video for the wedding. He had the wedding video. And a spiritualist church, you know. Wow. I mean, none of my family and most of Jane's family hadn't been to spiritualist church. It looked like an old garage, really, didn't it? Eastleigh Spiritualist Church, and had a tombola on the where you sign the weddings thing. But some of my family, I mean, my Uncle Mike, probably Sally's watching this, I expect. My Uncle Mike was actually shaking to going in there, because he was so terrified about the idea of going into this place where they probably had all sorts of things like Ouija board and people spitting ectoplasm and the rest.
What about on the Jag? We had Ghostbuster stickers.
We had Ghostbuster stickers all over the Jag, because I had a Jag at the time, and we also had I made the invites up. You know, your presence is required.
The spirits be provided
on the 1st of April.
Well, spirits be provided afterwards.
And remember, and this all happened quite quickly. So we suddenly, me and Jane were getting married, because we married very quickly after we met. So people were not getting their heads around this, and also knew that I had played a number of major practical jokes on the family, which I won't go into at the moment, which had them all stumped at sometimes, you know. So they really smelt a rat there, didn't they?
Yeah.
So it was very, very fun.
And we had a marquee in the garden and an umpire band. Remember? Yeah.
So, I mean, following that on, thank you for your happy anniversary wishes, by the way. That's very kind. It was yesterday. That's very kind of you. So the Doris thing I think we keep to the Doris theme a bit here, because she then, she had a very strong influence upon us. And after we got married, I think it was after we got married, and when you were pregnant, we went to Brighton, didn't we?
That's right. I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
And we went to see this medium, and in this shop, and she said, "Oh, I don't know if you'll see it."
His name? He was brilliant, wasn't
David
he?
Walton.
That's it.
She said, "I
Deserves
don't know if you'll be able to see both of you." And she said, "Oh, funny enough, he is." And he went into trance. And the first thing he said, "I've got a lady here called Doris." And she said, "Fancy seeing you here, lovey." And that's how she spoke. And congratulations on the baby.
He said it like she would have with her grandmother.
Yeah, I was only about 8 weeks pregnant then, so nobody would have picked that up, have known that. And then he also said, Doris said that there's a spiritual table, and with all spiritual gifts on there, that you're going to help people in this lifetime, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's remarkable, wasn't it?
And Doris had said to me also, you know, remember when I first met Doris, first encounter with mediumship, really, going back before, said that we'd be taught going around the world doing mediumship, or we'd be known all over the world through mediumship. I mean, I was just an advertising executive at that time. You know, I had my own advertising business. I wasn't going to go become a medium. But when I met Jane, you know,
lucky man.
Circumstances changed, and I chucked it all in, and we just decided, let's go for it. And we ended up on the big breakfast and things like that as our first step, and ended up also struggling, because obviously it's not easy to make a living suddenly out of mediumship. But we've always kind of felt that Doris has kind of worked with us, haven't we?
Yes.
You know, I mean, we've had quite a few messages from her when we do our work. And sometimes when we're giving messages to people, I do feel Doris is near us.
And what's so uncanny, we've actually got Linda Dearsley, that's working with us, that also used to work with Doris, because she wrote all Doris Stokes books.
Well, you remember the book I held up earlier on? Doris Stokes. I mean, there's the Voices in My Ear. This one's more Voices in My Ear, but that's by Linda Dearsley. She wrote all her books. I mean, we were talking to Linda, and you know, it all kind of came unexpectedly for her. You know, she was writing an autobiography for Doris Stokes, and then suddenly Doris Stokes' career, particularly when she went to Australia, sort of boomed. You know, she filled the Sydney Opera House.
Yeah, she was very down to earth.
So Linda then wrote the story that we've told you as well, in a bit more of a less gobbledygook way than me and Jane have told it. But she's written a fantastic book called Voices Everywhere and the Mysterious Doris Stokes Effect. So, you know, we don't make any money out of this. So I'm just plugging this because it's a brilliant book.
Also, we're doing a show May the 18th, and Linda Dearsley is introducing us. I believe the books will be on for sale, and Craig's books there. And it's so strange that the spirit world's brought everything together.
Again, there's a strange way that Doris Stokes kind of intertwined in our lives here again. This is why it's like the Doris Stokes effect. She was such a ordinary, you know, those that don't know her, go and watch some YouTubes later on if you've not met, you know, this is all new to you. But she's such a down-to-earth sort of everybody's grandma sort of person.
Somebody's read that book.
Oh, you've read it in the Doris Stokes Effect. Oh, fantastic!
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Yeah. And there's also, I wrote about it also in my book. You know, Messages from the Universe. It's in there as well. The same story. You know, but I think it's nice when someone else tells it.
Yeah, and there's another interesting about Doris Stokes. Linda, she used to be an SCN. She used to be a nurse, and John used to be a nurse in a psychiatric hospital. And I used to be a nurse in a psychiatric hospital. And it does seem strange that most people that have looked after people with mental problems and things like this have had compassion to reach out and help others. So, you know, what I'm trying to say is it's like our paths all come together, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think there's a certain energy that comes with some mediums. You know, we've always felt a kind of, I wouldn't say we've kind of modelled ourselves on Doris Stokes, as we are Craig and Jane. We're just different people. But I've always seen her as a sort of mentor in a way that she did things in an honest way.
Well, all her money went to sunshine coaches for handicapped children. And she used to give her money away and used to be on the phone for hours and hours and run all up phone bills. She never made money from it.
Poor. I mean, all the money that came into it, I mean, John told us all about this. And she had nothing, really. I mean, she just was so generous with the money. She just gave it away. She was a truly spiritual lady. And same thing with, you know, people we've spoken to, like Lynn Guest-de-Swart, who was a guest on this show at one point going back. I mean, she went to the auction when they sold off Doris Stokes's, all Doris Stokes's stuff. There was nothing there, really.
Agility, Craig.
Yeah. Do you think mediums like Doris Stokes work from the other side to help developing mediums in this world?
I think it depends who the medium is, but I know she does work with us, and we've had drawings coming through, spirit drawings from the other side.
There's another fantastic medium called Coral Polge who gave us a message from Doris Stokes too, and drew a picture of her. You know, so she does. I mean, from our experience, yes, she does. And I think mediums, I think me and Jane will probably end up doing that when we're on the spirit side as well. Mm-hmm. So if you've had any experiences yourself with Doris or other mediums, good or bad, do share them with us, and we'll talk about how this works and any thoughts you might have about it.
Nana says, are you performing at the Concord Club, Southampton this year? Have to go there if you do, if all is... Yes, we are actually on the 18th of May this year. And funny enough, this is when live theatres can actually entertain, if you like.
Day one is the 17th of May, and it just so happens we booked it for the day after the 18th of May. Is that 18th?
No, you got it wrong. We were booked twice before, but because of the virus in lockdown, it was cancelled and rescheduled, and it's rescheduled for the 18th of May, and the 18th of May is when actually everybody can start
to go to the theatres, but you're only allowed to be 50% full. So I suspect we're therefore sold out, Jane. But I don't know. There might be, if you ring them, you might be able to. They might be able to get a spot in there if you're lucky, or unlucky.
You speak for yourself, mate.
So you know, I'm sure. But Linda Dearsley will be talking there with us too. So we now work with Linda Dearsley, who also worked with Doris, and that was just sheer fluke. The way that kind of came about as well.
Now, Mark said, I've heard Nella Jones have worked with the police as a psychic detective. Did Doris Stokes do so? Well, I knew Nella Jones, actually. I did know Nella Jones. And Doris Stokes did help people that had lost children. But you've got to understand, when you start doing police work and things like that, it becomes like a circus. Your life's not
and
your
also
own.
the police actually in the UK, even now, don't formally say they work with mediums at all or psychics. They say, but if somebody sends something in, I know where the body of this person is or something, they are obliged to call that medium because they have to investigate it, because in case that person is a suspect. You see, that might, because often people say, oh, look, a friend of mine buried that body, or a medium told me this would happen. They have to investigate in case you're the culprit, you see. So that's kind of how it works here in the UK.
I have worked with
we have done some stuff.
Moore's murders.
Yeah, we have done some stuff with that. But it's yeah. But Nella Jones was an interesting medium, wasn't she? I mean, she was. I think she was sincere.
Once again, a very down-to-earth lady, very ordinary, and very good at what she'd done and holding things, doing psychometry and things.
Mainly because I think the mediums were kind of like, you think about that era with Doris Stokes and the other mediums at that time, and the other Doris Collins as well, who was around at the same time, all coming out of spiritualism, you see, and it's spiritualism. It's what's about a lot of the mediums we see now on TV and things. They've had no experience of spiritualism whatsoever. So that's kind of, they're a little bit shallower, I think, than what you get with those mediums.
Well, a medium, you're dedicated, and it's not about being showy or showbiz. Medium is about helping and connecting with somebody that's lost somebody. It's hard work.
So a psychic told me I would meet my husband in 2 weeks. It came true and I couldn't be happier. It looks like nice. You dressed up for him, I can see from your profile.
God, Craig.
Yeah. Well, this often is the case. And I think a lot of people go to see mediums in the first place to ask about love and help with things like that, don't they? I mean, people that come to see us often come not always about wanting to find out about life after death, but they want to find out about, well, when will I be happy in marriage, if ever, That's kind of.
I believe that the spirit world make the appointments, not the other way around.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. And you will know deep down inside when it's right to actually see a medium.
Yeah, so let's have your thoughts, guys. And don't forget,
and by the way,
don't forget Linda Dearsley's book, because
and
she's
have
lovely.
Any of you actually gone to see Doris Stokes in the theatre, perhaps in Portsmouth or London? Or
she was mainly in the UK. She did a lot of work in Australia too. I mean, she actually, the Australians really took it to heart, because they, I think the Australians like people to be straight, don't they? They don't want all this airs and graces and golden jackets and things.
Actually, when Doris did go to Australia, and that the lines were absolutely jammed, and they had to extend a TV station for nearly all evening, and that, because to be spiritual and to link into the spirit world is quite a big order, and it does take a lot of energy, and it does drain a medium, because remember, your perceptions are quite heightened, because we're sensing how somebody passed. We're actually having those feelings and sensations.
The sound is bad, Jane, because you're going to have to move that microphone. Just put it like that in there.
Where?
Just look. Otherwise, it doesn't matter about what it looks like. That should be better.
Should it?
Yeah, because it's not broken.
Right.
You should be able to hear you now.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So thank you for the belated happy anniversary. Well, it was only yesterday. I am not much aware of mediums, but it is truly amazing to hear about spiritual and compassionate side of Doris Stokes from you both and your experiences with her. Yeah, I mean, Doris Stokes is a person that was wonderful because she could kind of introduce people that had never come across mediumship into it. Because, I mean, it's not so bad now because you see stuff on YouTube and telly and things. But in those days, when Jane and I first started with mediumship, I personally had to keep it really quiet. I couldn't tell anybody that I was a medium because people business. I could lose business on it because I was self-employed with my advertising agency. You had to keep it quiet because people think you're a bit of a weirdo, and because their vision of what a spiritualist church was like my uncle, who was scared to go into the church because he'd seen as, Ouija boards and the rest. So it's become a much more mainstream. But Doris was really brilliant because you could see she was just an ordinary person, wasn't she? She really introduced the mass to that. And without people like her, I think it would be much harder for people like me and Jane to work nowadays, wouldn't it? She was the pioneer for modern spiritualism.
I don't think there'll ever be another Doris Stokes.
Oh, that's nice that you've had messages yourself from Doris Stokes. I'm sure she does speak to other mediums.
Yes.
And I know that a lot of the great mediums do kind of help. I mean, there's other mediums out there. At the same time as Doris Stokes was around, there's another brilliant medium who you must look up on YouTube if you're new to this, called Gordon Higginson. Fantastic. The messages he gave us, and we witnessed as well, absolutely mind-bogglingly accurate. I mean, unbelievable stuff. And so these are all, and these people work from the spirit side now and help the mediums that are still here and still working, and to help us to communicate. And I also, my friend Vi Kipling, actually, she used to be on the chat rooms with me. She's often around me when I'm doing mediumship. So mediumistic people, I think, are stuck with it when we get on the other side. We keep working. There's no rest for us. Did you ever come across Rita Rogers?
Yes, I knew Rita Rogers. I think she's a traveller, wasn't she? And I believe that she was a very good, sincere lady. And I think she had to retire in the end.
Did she?
Yeah, she was very good.
Well, Rita Rogers was the one that involved with Diana, wasn't
she had dark hair.
And the helicopter.
And then she gave her a necklace, Diana. That's right.
That's right, because she landed, Diana went to see her, and she landed in a helicopter outside her house in the countryside.
No, in the field.
In the fields. And that was sort of like an announcement to the world. So Rita Rogers did a pretty good job there, really, because, I mean, it announced mediumship to the world, and it was kind of like
I think she was a nice lady.
I don't know. I never met her. I didn't really know much about her as a person. But it certainly was front page.
I think Diana gave her a necklace, actually. I think she sold it since.
And there was another one called Vasco, wasn't there? Vasco or something.
That's the one that was under a pyramid, Craig.
Was that the one connected with Diana, wasn't it?
No, she was Fergie, more with Fergie.
Okay, you're okay.
Yes, she did. Nana's saying, did Doris have a brain tumour at one stage in her life? If so, did that, or does that affect communication to the other side? Well, actually, she did have a brain tumour, but as you know, Nana, yourself, because you work in this field, all your earthly conditions go back normal. So if you had a brain tumour or you had cancer, you have a healing process, and that takes time, and then you go back. Yeah,
Doris used to always say,
bit by bit,
they're taking me over to the spirit world one bit at a time. Because every time she did an extra demo, she'd had another operation. So she's, I'm going over one bit at a time. Lady. You think about it, she started quite late in her life, really. 60s. She's at the time when people were starting to sort of wind down.
63.
And she wasn't well in herself, even when she started.
Yeah.
So her career was short-lived, but meteoric at the same time.
She knew, O'Leary, what's his name?
Laurie O'Leary.
Yeah, well, I knew Laurie O'Leary. He used to manage Doris, and he did give me a load of tapes of Doris Stokes, but stupidly I was giving them away to people to help them.
And Laurie O'Leary, of course, he was a bit of dark horse as well, because he knew the Craig brothers, didn't he? The Craig twins. It was Laurie O'Leary knew the Craig twins. And he introduced Doris to the Craig twins.
Yeah, but he used to manage bands and everything. Yeah. He went along to a spiritualist church to discredit her, actually, and he was absolutely amazed because she brought his mother through from the other side. And I think he was so overwhelmed. And she didn't really need a manager, Doris Stokes, because her work spoke for itself. But he really helped her.
He helped her to get, and he recognised, he saw her at Fulham Spiritualist Church originally. Yes. And he recognised her and said, "Oh, this can go far," So he put her on the stage proper, and approached Doris and put her on the stage. Otherwise, she'd have just been doing all the little spiritualist churches, particularly Fulham and a few others, and the SAGB she used to do. And they were real jealous of her. Some of them. The SAGB, I remember, were really, this is Spiritualist Association of Great Britain that was in Belgrave Square. I think it's closed now. I don't know. But they were really jealous. And I mean, awful jealousy towards her from other mediums at the time. So she had to fight her corner, actually. It wasn't as easy as it all looked.
Now, Caroline Hunter says, are you still in contact with Doris? And Nissa asks if she met her son. Well, she, as you know, she lost John Michael. And then she had an adopted son, Terry. So she would have met up.
Has Terry passed over?
Yeah, he passed ages
ago. Because we've met Terry a number of times.
He was an alcoholic.
Unfortunately, he was an alcoholic. So, and he tried to become a medium himself, but of course he was adopted. He didn't have it in him at all. It was a bit of a sad case. And he was trying to do this, I remember, at Gosport Spiritualist Church. We saw
John tried to set him up in business in different things. And of course, he used to boss him around, actually, a lot. And then he said, I don't know what's wrong with him, Jane.
Terry was really, really stubborn. And spoiled and difficult. So Doris had all this going on in the background. You know, she's out trying to do the theatres and things. And she's got a son that is quite difficult to...
That's the adopted one.
The adopted son, quite difficult to deal with. And of course, she lost her baby son, didn't she? Yeah. Because she would always talk about this baby castles.
Yeah, in the sky and playing
in the sky and these lovely little poems. And Bert Whedon, I think.
I knew Bert Whedon.
Yeah, you met Bert Whedon, didn't you?
Yeah, well, he was at a wedding. I knew Bert Whedon. They used to approach me because they had heard about me. And his wife, Maggie, he's passed out. You saw him
on the QE2, didn't you?
No, I knew him. Yeah. And then he passed into spirit, and then Maggie passed in spirit. She was quite psychic. It was a lovely, lovely man. And he wrote the music, Welcome to My World.
Yes, he did. In fact, a lot of the people that... knew Doris kind of came through us too, didn't they? Particularly on the people that were quite well known.
And Danny LaRue and Freddie Starr.
Yeah, because they're all friends with Doris as well, weren't they? So yeah, so it's interesting how, I don't know, we've kind of always felt a certain resonance with Doris in a way.
She loved children, and when people come to me that have lost children, I do sense her 100% around. I can't say she's around us 24/7 because she's got other things to do, as we have on the earth plane. But definitely, if the need is great, she's there.
Yeah, definitely certain times, both of us have felt her simultaneously and separately. And I think she must do that with other people too. And obviously she has her time in the spirit too, although the time is a different sort of thing in the spirit, but definitely her influence is around me sometime. Jane reminds me of Doris, her nature and sense of humor.
Oh, thank you.
But you were both Librans, weren't you? Because you're a Libra.
She's a Capricorn.
Wasn't Doris a Libra?
No, she wasn't.
I'm sure she was Libra.
No, she's not.
Oh, I'm wrong.
No, I like Doris Stokes because she was so like everybody's grandma, and I like to think that I'm everybody's surrogate spiritual mother at times. Then I cried. But no, I think there'll never be another Doris Stokes as such, because she was a remarkable lady. And there was another lady around that period of time called Doris Collins. And Doris used to say, "Are you sure, lovies, you got the right Doris tonight?"
Yeah. She had some good quips and some funny little jokes she used to say when she used to, she obviously had them lined up before she went on stage, but it always came across as if it was completely natural.
Yeah, she was natural.
How old were you, Jane, when you realised that you had these special powers?
When I was a little girl, I think, because you're so pure when you're a child, and you see colours and auras and you hear things, and people would say it's your imaginary friends, and you just don't think anything of it because you think that everybody else is like you. That's
right. I mean, the medium I mentioned earlier on, Gordon Higginson, he used to say, mediums are born, they're not made.
That's right.
And it's true. I mean, and the thing is, you don't initially realise that it's mediumship at all, you see. And Doris's story is the same, actually. You start seeing these things, particularly when you're a child. My mother, for example, I used to see my granddad stood in my bedroom, and he died, and I was 6. And I used to see him, and they hadn't even told me that Granddad had died. They were too scared. And I kept seeing Granddad in my room. And I saw my dog Biddy in the room too, who had also died. And I used to say these things to Mum, and they were absolutely terrified by what I said, you know. And I think you had the
Which
same.
Which granddad was that?
That would have been Granddad Parker.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So I used to see him in the room, and it scare my mum, and I'd be absolutely saying, "He's gone in there. He's gone in the cupboard." My mum came out.
Oh, that's
shocked
nice
as well.
Nana, Nana, you picked up on the fact that I studied the brain at university. I'm well impressed. Thank you for the answer. Thank you, Nana. It's lovely, really, to.
Did you just say that then?
It's lovely. Well,
Yeah.
read it, Craig. It's lovely for you to give us feedback, because it's so nice, really, to connect this way with everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. So anything, other questions you might have about not just Doris Stokes, about other mediums, mediumship in general, you know, we can widen it now if you like. Craig, what do the people who have passed over do in the spirit world? Yeah, What to Do When You're Dead is the book I wrote, isn't it? But it's hard to explain, because I think time is different over there. But our world in the spirit, I've, as far as I can understand it, because I think it's very hard for us to understand in our normal awareness of this world, because we know this world. But I think the closest you can describe it is, I would say, like a very, very, very awake dream that's more awake than this world, where the world is flexible. And we still live within a sort of time. So we still do things as such. But we may also do things simultaneously as well. And there's all sorts of things like that. But basically, I mean, it depends on each person's level of development. So some people will live a very ordinary life, just like they've lived here. You know, they say that some people who might, for example, be completely obsessed with the stock exchange might continue to be obsessed with the stock exchange in their own afterlife stock exchange, and so on. You know, you relive your life.
Perhaps a heart surgeon like Dr. Christian Bernard from South Africa might work through a surgeon here on the earth plane and guide them.
So some people will go to the spirit world and still be deluded, you know, so they'll still be trapped in the same loops. And those that have become awakened in this world will start to see the world from another level, because there's many levels to the spirit plane too. So some people will be in the spirit world in a kind of a world of transcendental type of world. You know, the enlightened beings will see things in a very different way to those that are just still like just starting out on the spiritual path. And we spend so much time there in the spirit world, but it's not the final resting place, because we come back here again to learn more lessons, and then we go back into the spirit world. We learn to progress again in the spirit world, and we're going to keep climbing the ladder of consciousness, because ultimately it's all still about awakening, both in this world and in the next. So that answered that in a funny sort of way.
No, I think that's quite good.
Yeah. But it's hard to explain these things, really. It's hard for even us to grasp it. I think for all mediums to fully grasp it is difficult.
All right. Why do you think you two were destined to be with each other in this lifetime, in other lifetimes? I think karma, don't you, Craig?
Well, it's linked up with karma. I think people are meant to be destined together. You know, I mean, people talk about soulmates and things, but I think that's kind of a simplification of it. I think some people come together because they've got to share bad stuff, you know, because they've got to work out negative karma. But we must have something in our previous lives that had something to do with, I think we must have done spiritual work before. You know, Rishis. I mean, Mainardi said that I was a rishi in a past life and so forth. I don't know how much to take that, but whatever, that's not relevant. But the fact is, I'm sure that myself did spiritual work, and I'm sure Jane did spiritual work, and we must have done spiritual work similar at the same time.
I've always been attracted to India and Indian things. And Sharavana has told me that I played with him in the village when he was a child, and I believe that my last incarnation in India I was a man.
We have 50-50. Our incarnations are part male, part female. We do tend to settle on one gender, I think, as you progress further along, but we still have to learn both sides of life. Do you think anybody can develop mediumship if that's what they really want to do?
You're a teacher.
I would say no, actually, to that. I think, like I said at the beginning, it has to be there, but you don't know it's there until you start to dig in it. You know, you might find that you might start off getting some mediumistic stuff, and you start sitting properly in a circle, and start doing working hard to see if you can develop it. And the mediumship may come through, but your gifts might sometimes be different too, because sometimes people sit in a circle, think they're going to become a medium, and come out of it as a brilliant healer, or come out of it it's also as a brilliant thinker or a brilliant speaker, because those are all part of there's like, I call it like the gifts of spirit. And sometimes you're lucky and you have many gifts of spirit. Sometimes you have one gift of spirit. But the thing is, all of us have certain amounts to give. And if we are prepared to sit and develop, then what is meant to come out will come out, But very, 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 very few are mediums. I mean, lots like to think of themselves as mediums, and lots like to pretend what mediumship, because that what they think is mediumship, when start doing, like we talk about, I moan about people using tarot cards for doing mediumship. That's not mediumship. And sometimes people give huge vagaries that are supposed to be spirit evidence, which is just nonsense and cold reading. So there's very, very few. Gordon Higginson again used to say 1 in 100 people can become psychic. 1 in 1,000,000 people can become mediums. And that's a big difference. And many mistake psychic and medium and don't know the difference between the two. We're lucky because we do mediumship. And if you can do mediumship, then you can also do the psychic. And hopefully you can also be the inspirational speaker as well. Doris was right when you met on the 6th of March. She foresaw this. Does this day have a spiritual significance?
I think if you turn the 6 round to a 9, because there's 999 names that God is known by. But I think this is probably, I've always liked
I don't
7.
think there's any special numerology in that. I think that just happened to be the date. It was Sunday. Of course, it was a Sunday, the 6th of March, because that's when
holy day.
The spiritualist services happen within spiritualism. And that's when I was demonstrating. But it just, she just picked up the date. I don't think there's anything particularly significant.
Spring, isn't it, March?
But it was interesting. But I think getting married on the 1st of April was funny. I mean, it does kind of suit our natures, really. And it did make for a very funny. And for our wedding and for our, and then we went off for because it was all quite quick, wasn't it? Because we both had children. And so we went off to Glastonbury to the George and Pilgrim haunted hotel.
Waited all night to see.
And we were in this haunted room with a big 4-poster bed in a room that was the nun's room, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which was, nobody liked to go in there because it was scary.
It's the best night's sleep. Yeah.
And we took the dog with us as well on our honeymoon. So that was cool, quite funny. Yeah. How do you know you've met your soulmate?
Well, you do know, because the connection, it's like the words that come out their mouth, you know what they're going to say, and it feels right. It's like if you hold somebody's hand, you feel like electricity, it feels right, it feels comfortable. I'd say like a jigsaw puzzle joining.
I think you resonate with one another. And I think sometimes a bit of misconception, sometimes soulmate, is that there's only one possible person in your life that can you ever be with. There's a lot of idealization that goes into the whole idea, I think. But I mean, you should know, really. You wouldn't be asking that question if you didn't know, in a way. And I think when you really are connected with someone on a deep level, I think even people who don't claim to be psychic will get certain correspondences. I think you resonate in such a way that you tend to finish each other's sentences. You kind of get a feeling about if the other person's in distress and things. And I think when you do truly open up to one another, telepathy, which is a psychic type thing, does happen between even ordinary people.
Yes, I agree with that.
You're not necessarily just people that are psychic. Watching all the way from South Africa. Well, that's nice. Yeah. I don't think Doris ever went to South Africa, did she?
No, I don't think so.
She did Australia mainly.
My parents lived in South Africa for a while, and we got a South African dentist. They're lovely. Yeah,
and there's quite a lot of interest in spiritual things in this type of mediumistic stuff in South Africa. There might even be a few spiritualist churches there, I think.
I've got a feeling
there is. So if you've got any other questions, please share them with us. and if you've had any interest, any thoughts about other mediums, have you read Doris Stokes's books? Any questions more you'd like to ask about it? And don't forget, like I was going to give Linda's book another plug because she's such a lovely lady. She deserves to have a plug for this book. You can get Linda Dearsley's book, Voices Everywhere, The Mysterious Doris Stokes Effect, on Amazon, I believe. And also the same story is also being told in my book, Messages from the Universe, which you should read by default. Is Doris with you now?
I don't feel she's with us. No.
I have not been thinking Doris
no,
around me.
I haven't.
No, I've been more thinking in terms of we're talking about our lives and Doris' lives. I think she would come close to us, I think, when we're actually doing mediumship, when there's something really important and you've got to help someone, wouldn't you?
Yes, I agree with that. Are
your children psychic? Luby Dosser.
Is that our daughter?
Well, I think that, yes, I think they are. I mean, they don't claim to be psychic. Danielle, I think, is a bit certainly open to also interested in things such as the paranormal and things like that. So, you've got to be a bit interested in that, haven't you? Mm. And then she did the Ouija board and had all sorts of weird stuff going on with that, wasn't there? And all those things. And my other daughter, Celeste, I think she's pretty psychic because, I mean, we kind of know what's quite often have contacted each other at the same time and things like that. And I think any family has psychic stuff. I mean, I think all families have a certain amount of psychic,
especially mothers with young babies. So.
Yeah, and none have developed as mediums, but then that's not necessarily their path. My dad ran restaurants. I wasn't going to necessarily become a restaurateur. I wanted to do my own thing in life.
Fleming Rosa, did you know? Yes, I did know Betty Shine. She used to do healing, and she's the one that told David Icke turquoise. What she meant, she saw blue around his aura, and he took it that you should wear a turquoise shell suit.
Absolutely, literally, didn't he? And she said about spirit guides and things like Socrates, or that he'd been Socrates in the previous life, and he assumed he was the reincarnation of Socrates.
Yeah.
David Icke got a little bit carried away a bit quickly with it all. He does tend to jump in with both feet. But I don't know whether Betty Shine had mentioned
she's dead
that.
now.
But I mean, she was down in Brighton.
Yeah, going to Worthing Way.
And again, I didn't know Betty Shine myself, but her books was her book was very, very popular in its time.
Nice lady.
Yeah, she kind of got to people through writing, didn't she? Because she was quite a clever writer. Yes. An interesting
last question now.
Last questions now, folks, because we're coming to the end. And I hope you've enjoyed listening to us have a chat about these type of things, because you can, I think, if you haven't met your soulmate yet, if you open your heart to it, I think it does eventually come in life. I think you have to kiss a lot of frogs before you write the right person.
I hope you haven't kissed a lot of frogs.
But people do, though. They worry, don't they? They worry they're never going to meet the person for them. But I think
just be yourself.
The thing that binds people together more than anything, I think, is spirituality.
Yes.
I think if you're spiritual and you meet a spiritual person, then it's more likely that you're going to bond. And I think those are the things in life, really, aren't they? That's the most important things in life is spiritual things.
Yes.
It's because there's like love exists on many levels. It's like tamasic love, ragistic love, and sattvic love.
What about Jane love?
And Jane love, yeah. But spiritual love, the sattvic love, is the highest of them all. And if two people meet with that sattvic love, as it were, that high level love, then there's a very powerful bond, and that's how you want to approach people. You want to look to people's spirit. Not look to just to their personality, and not look just to their physical form. Look to the higher level. And then you're more guaranteed to make a good relationship. So thanks to all our patrons, indeed. And talking about patrons, those patrons that are watching today, I'm going to do another Zoom meeting on the Patreon channel Thursday at Thursday at 5 o'clock. I've set it up. You'll see it on the Patreon notices there, and I'll just take some questions for you. Conversations with Craig, I've called it, and also patrons. If the patrons want to, on the Patreon site, want to put a note of any questions you might have. If you can't actually get to me on that date or that time, I'll still pick the questions up and answer those during that Zoom meeting. So you can either ask me live or you can ask me just through your questions there. Any questions you might have, any thoughts you might want me to talk about or share, particularly with things like your spiritual development and things like that. So if you want to become a patron's basically are people that just give a little bit to help us with our work. And with our new centre, our new media centre is coming along soon. We don't want to spoil it all by telling you too much too soon, but we'll give you all, particularly the patrons, you'll get a preview of it all later on, behind the scenes stuff. But we are working on the first step, but we've got somewhere nice.
Yes,
we've got
fantastic.
somewhere where we think it should work out just to be right, just right for our first step.
As Domenico would say, you'll love it.
So we're saying thank you to those that are helping us. And if you want to become a patron, have a look in the comments below, in the description below, because there's the links there to become a patron, or you can just give a little small amount to help with what we're doing. You know, you can buy us a coffee, which just gives a little bit of cash to me and Jane, or you can give a subscription. You can be a patron, which you give a little small subscription each week just to help us move along and get a little bit of access to some extra information, or you can just make a donation through the just GoFundMe link as well, which is on the screen at the moment. So all of that helps us with what we're trying to do, because we just don't want to be just doing just this. We want to take it bigger and bigger and bigger. With your help, we can take it a long way. Last questions, please. Oh, and also, yeah, Domenico's put the one out. And also, if you want to share any of your experiences and join us online, and we will be looking for people to join us when we've got the new media centre, particularly, you can come as a guest. So we're looking for people with interesting stories. Get in touch. You can either leave them comments, but best still go to the website, psychics.co.uk. Okay, and that's all been revamped to the website recently too. So you can go and have a look at the website, our website, and find out a little bit more about our lives, and you can read some of these stories that we've been talking about. There's quite a lot of it on there in article form. Have you ever met Gordon Smith?
Yes.
I've seen a few videos about him on YouTube.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, well, we were partly
on BBC.
We didn't meet Gordon Smith, did we? But we were on the same program. We did a series on a television series on Everyman on BBC Two. They did 3 one-hour programs. And they jumped between Gordon Smith and ourselves and another medium, the blind medium, I've forgotten her name. Sharon O'Neill, yeah, who was very nice as well. And they sort of followed me and Jane at home. They followed my psychic school that I was running at the time.
Readings and theatres.
And they did some stuff with Gordon Smith. I mean, I think he's quite an accurate medium. I think he is genuinely accurate. And yeah, I mean, there's that. Yes, so we were kind of interconnected with that. Us and him were on the same shows at the same time, and he's well worth a watch, I think. Will you both do a ghost hunt live?
Not at the moment. We're a bit busy this year, aren't we?
Well, we probably will, because the thing, once we start to get into the swing of it with our new media centre, we can get into some more of that. I mean, it would be quite interesting to do a ghost hunt at the very building we're moving into, wouldn't it? We can get permission to open up all the other rooms, because it's a spooky place. Yeah, so maybe, can't promise, but I mean, I know a lot of you like the ghost hunt things. Some of those, there's a lot of misconceptions around all that, but we do quite like to go into historic places and pick up the vibrations there, don't we? And we can tell people the history, particularly if we've got someone in tow that can qualify what we're picking up, like a historian or something like that, you know. Been wonderful, thank you. So what's next for you guys, or are you just allowing the universe to take on the path? Well, we're coming out of lockdown soon, so things are going to change quite a lot. And we have got, like I said, a new place that we've got lined up. That will help us to do the first step of what we hope to do, which is to sort of expand the media side a little bit. Our plan, as many of you know, is to open a spiritual center, you know, and we want, this has all been, you know, if you read Messages from the Universe, the book Messages from the Universe, this was all talked about in the Nadis. And strangely, it's all starting to happen. And so, you know, we don't just flow with it. You kind of have to flow with it, but you also have to be active as well, I think, with things, don't you?
Yes.
It's a bit of both. You know, you go with the flow, and yet you've also got to be proactive as well as subjugated to it as well. Thank you, Jane and Craig. Have a lovely weekend. Happy Easter.
And thank you as well for watching us, Agility.
So it looks like we're doing
you
our
have a lovely
bye-byes
Easter.
now. Thank you, Craig and Jane. From Jing.
Thank you, Jing.
Ying. I just wanted to melt that jacket down into a cold pie. Fun, isn't it? Yeah. I'll have to find something more suitable next week, shall I? Something a bit more toned
Looks
down.
like you've been in the oven baking for.
Happy Easter, Craig and Jane. Thanks for a great discussion.
Oh,
well, thank you for joining
Sheila.
us. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you can maybe resonate with some of the things that have been happening here tonight.
Not a chance to write my comments.
Well,
we've got so many people, haven't we?
Yeah, we've got a lot of people put the comments, and we thank you. I mean, Domenico can only click so many of them, and he tries to keep it in the context to keep the flow going for us. That's why it's great to have a producer in the background like that.
Namaste.
Great show as always. And I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah. And there's loads more of these. If you're bored now, you can go and have a look at some more. And you can see lots of different jackets.
Gosh, they can't wait, can they?
I'd love to talk to you about the dark night of the soul and the spiritual awakening. Yeah. So what do we mean by the dark night of the soul? Yeah, it could be quite interesting. Yeah. Some of the things about the darker side, the harder stuff, is also good. We kind of try to give us
Aleister Crowley,
happy viewpoint as much as we can, but there's dark stuff as well, and that's all relevant that people need to know about. Yeah, so sure thing. Yeah, we can perhaps look into some of the darker stuff as well, if you like. Glad to see you both live.
You're alive?
I'm alive. Or live. After that darkest one. Have you seen the Leslie Flint tapes? They're awesome. Yes, I'm just reading a book about Leslie Flint. Voices in the Dark. I'm just reading that one at the moment. I've been reading. Good book, actually. He was a very interesting man. Again, never met him, actually, but his tapes are amazing. And his book, it's well worth reading. Someone's republished it recently, and don't go buying the £300 one. So you can go out and find the website for it. And he is a very, very interesting man. And another one that's very humble in himself too. And these voices used to just appear around him in the dark, amazing, and give all sorts of evidence. So yeah, I think he's awesome, as you say. Thank you, Jane and Craig. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone.
And you
Thank
too.
You, Rita. Well, it looks like we're coming to the end now, and we're saying the last goodbye.
Oh, you're looking very snappy. Like a rock star. Yeah. Good vibes. That's funny.
Yeah, snappy. Step on it.
Billy Graham's got nothing on you.
Yeah. Thank you, Craig and Jane. I hope you see you in person one day.
You will do, Neil.
Absolutely wonderful. I keep seeing the Egyptian or Horus around you, your new building. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't think it's not really an Egyptian. I'm not going to tell anything, but it's a simple place. But it's
not just a simple place.
It's simple, but it's just what we need. Really. It's a start. It's a start. It's nothing massive. Don't expect.
It's not Frogmore Cottage, neither.
No, it's nothing like that. But it's our stepping stone in the right direction. I think we can do a lot with it.
Have a lovely weekend and happy Easter to you too, Millie. Lots of love.
It'd be nice to get some drone shots of it there too. Thank you both. Happy Easter and happy Easter to you. And yes, thank you and happy Easter, Craig and Jane.
Thank you. Happy Easter to you, Apple.
Happy Easter to you both. Thank you and enjoy your weekend. Indeed, it's nice of you to all keep listening. And don't forget, if you're new and never been here before, do follow us. Click the follow button and you can all enjoy this every week. Okay, well, thank you. See you soon then, folks.
Bye.
Bye for now.
Bye.